Hi everyone, this is Deb Tim, a Canadian girl. You know, the other day I was talking to a fellow fish keeper and we were kind of laughing about things that we've learned and things that we don't do anymore that we thought were so important, things that we should be doing that we aren't anymore, or all kinds of things that we've learned on this journey. And salt came up. And it got us to talking about types of salt and what are their uses and whether we even use salt. And, it got me thinking about my own aquariums and my own use of salt. And I thought this is something that I should share with you. So please stay tuned. This is a 75-gallon aquarium, and it's home to my mixed African cichlids. Most of the fish in here are mbuna, and many of you know that they are my absolute favorite African cichlids. I do have a few peacocks in here as well, along with some Lake Victoria cichlids too. Many people are not a fan of mixing cichlids. I find if it works for you, then feel free. Mine seem to do very well together. I do have to mention that any time I have had a mixed cichlid aquarium, an mbuna is always my tank boss, without exception. All throughout this hobby, we learn what works well for our setups and fish, and quickly find out what works for some may not work for others. It's good that we have wonderful people in this amazing community that like to share their knowledge. Sometimes taking a bit of this from one, some of that from another, and a pinch of this from another source, and you have a whole new way of doing things. The best part of this hobby is that it's a never-ending source of knowledge. There will never ever be a time where you know it all. Today I want to talk about salt and why some use it and some don't. This subject came up between me and another fish keeper the other day, and it got me to thinking. This is one of those areas where there are many opinions. There is no right or wrong here. Only you know what your cichlids do best in, and by that you make your decision if you want to use salt or not. Lake Malawi and Lake Tanganyika are rift lakes. This simply means that they were formed by a rift in the ground. The rift filled with salt water from the ocean, creating salty lakes. But over time, the elements, such as rain and runoff, diluted the salt content to what it is today. Cichlids living in these lakes have become accustomed to the salt content, even at the diluted state it's in. Now, I am a salt user. I have dipped my finger into my tank and actually tasted the water to see if I could detect the saltiness. It's so diluted that my taste buds could not pick up the salty taste at all. There are benefits to adding salt, believed by many, such as salt will enhance coloration, salt will increase spawning activity, salt will be a producer of larger fry and larger broods, salt will lessen the wait time when cycling a new tank. Salt also eases breathing and gastrofunction in your cichlids, but salt may also increase your pH level. Cichlids adapt well to fresh water that has no salt added, just as easily. Here are some thoughts on not using salt. Cichlids breed just as well with or without salt. Salt is an unnecessary expense, and there is less fighting in fresh water when there's no salt added. Well, as you can see, there are pros and cons to both sides of this coin. As far as adding salt with weekly water changes, that's a personal preference. You must make this decision according to what best suits your fish in their optimal environment. We all know the most important element of being a successful aquarist is maintaining the perfect water parameters and water conditions for our fish. You know, in the beginning, when I did all my research, it led me to believe that salt was an essential part of providing an optimal environment for my cichlids. However, over time, I have learned that many people don't use salt in their regular maintenance at all. I've been having wonderful success with my cichlids while using salt weekly, but this did make me wonder if what I was doing was either better or not, or even necessary. I decided I would do a little experiment. I stopped using salt for a 2-month period. In that time, I kept an eye on my fish to see if I noticed any changes, improvements, or differences at all. Well, my conclusion was I didn't feel there was much of a difference in coloration or breeding, although I did find my fish seemed to be more active with salt, and I never had any heavy breathers. I continue to add Epsom salts to my cichlid aquarium every week. It may not make much of a difference, but I do know that salt is the first thing you go to when you have any kind of bowel or digestion issues in your cichlids. By using salt regular, I never have problems like that. Using salt can vary as well. Some use it weekly, like I do, some every other week, once a month, and so on. There's no right or wrong, as I've said before. It all comes down to what you feel is the best for your cichlids. Just remember, if you're adding salt, only add it to the portion of water that you're changing. It's kind of like cooking. Add salt to taste. So until next time, this is Deb Tim signing out. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've had a great day. I hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow, and I'll talk to you soon.